Welcome, everyone, to Ladder Daily Digest. We honor creators, and we're doing a special series honoring Sunstone, which actually was formed to honor scholars and to provide a place for scholars to get some of their papers published. And Sunstone has an annual conference. Joe Geisner, with me today, is presenting at that conference. And Joe, maybe you can tell our audience a little bit more about Sunstone for now, and then we'll get into your presentation in a bit.
So, Gene, in 1988, I attended my first Sunstone. It's that experience was amazing for me. I found a home. I found a people that allowed me to talk about things that I really had not been allowed to. My it's
You were
not
an
that my
you were an attending member. You were a
I
believing member,
I was an
but
attending believing member
Mormon
who
history was fascinating.
who actually were very. I lived in wonderful wards. I had wonderful bishops. I held callings. Um, I loved my community at church, except their eyes would glaze over when I would start talking about the latest book I was reading or the latest article I had read in
Dialogue.
Sunstone or Dialogue. Though I did teach from Sunstone, my Sunday school class, I taught the 16 to 18-year-olds. And most of those people all went on missions and are, as far as I know, still active believing Mormons. So just because I taught them and taught them right out of Sunstone, I taught them about polygamy. I used the sci-fi author that's famous, Orson Scott Card. Couldn't think of his name. Orson Scott Card. He wrote he wrote for Sunstone early on and supported Sunstone financially early on. And he wrote a play called Mother, Father, Mother, or something like that. And it's about a polygamous household. And I had the kids, I made photocopies, brought them in, and then had the kids read the
Act out,
parts,
do a reading.
Yeah, and perform the play. And,
And how many people were at about the 1988 one that you went to? About how many
it
people would
was
show up back then?
huge. It was a massive, and actually it was in Concord. So it was just over the hill from you.
So it was a California
It was a
setting.
California one. And I
Was
would
it
say there
around
were,
Pioneer Day as well?
no, 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 no. It was in the spring. It was in the
Okay.
spring. And it was a few hundred people. When Sam W. Taylor got up and spoke and gave his presentation, it was held at a hotel, and it filled up the entire hotel's big banquet room, and it was massive. Um, and
Probably a
and
lot of the same people were going to Know Your Religion series.
I would say so. Sunstone at that time started out with a prayer. Uh, Presenters often gave their testimony after completely dismantling the Book of Mormon. Then they would give or the Book of Abraham. They would then bear their testimony. It was actually pretty funny now to think in hindsight. But at the
Yeah.
time, I ate it up. I loved it. It was wonderful, and for me, I still say Sunstone is wonderful. It, under Lindsay Hansen Park, it's actually matured. It's become an adult, and the sessions range everywhere from things like what I'm going to talk about with the book, and Cheryl Bruno and John Dinger are going to talk about their William Marks book, to my friend Connell O'Donovan, who's going to talk about the history of drag, there are other people that are talking about psychedelics. Other people are talking about abuse.
Polygamy.
Other people, pardon?
Polygamy.
There's always got to be the polygamy or polygamist.
And I
Matter
got
of
this
fact,
shirt. I got this
yeah,
shirt,
yeah, that's right.
More Than One Way to Mormon. And that's pretty much, I tell people about a third of the people are believing members,
Yep,
about a third are post-Mormon, and about a third are everything else,
that's right.
factions, post-Mormons, even just people that are interested in learning about Mormonism, that might not
And,
even be
and
members.
and they're wonderful people. It's a wonderful environment. I'm sort of glad we're going back up to the University of Utah. It's more intimate. That conference center down in Sandy, American something conference
America
center.
West or something.
Yeah, American West is. It was sterile and it was unfeeling kind of an environment. So we're up at the U. There's just a completely different feel, completely different vibe, and I'm really excited to be back there. I also the other thing about Sunstone that has evolved is it used to be 3 days plus that night the Smith Pettit lecture on Wednesday night. So it was Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and now it's been moved or shortened, not moved. It's been shortened to Thursday night Smith Pettit and then Friday, Saturday. I think that has really helped with just quality of papers. It's forced people to up their game in making better papers. I attended every hour of sessions last year, the Friday, Saturday. I haven't done that in years, and because there were just so many times when there were periods, session periods that I just didn't see anything I wanted to listen to. Um, and that's not saying that I should have a corner on the market of what's being presented. What I'm saying is the quality. The quality is really amazing right now. And so anybody out there who has even the slightest interest, my dad, who would drive me, he and I would drive together all night, and I would go to those 3 sessions, and then Saturday after the last session, we'd jump back in the car and drive back to California.
Road trip bonding.
That's right, I mean, that's a long drive, and be careful anybody who drives it, as you and I are both going to be driving there from California. That's a long drive through that Great Basin, but it's worth it. It's worth attending.
And so I bought a book. Well, no, I didn't buy it. You actually sent me one of the copies you had of Writing Mormon History. Let's say the winter of 2021, and that actually got me really interested in things. And so I went to my first, or maybe it's the winter of 2022. Went to my first Sunstone. Went to my first Mormon History Association meeting. And so thank you for doing that. And I love having a relationship with you and be able to chat with you here and there and being like a little bit more connected to, history, because I totally didn't care about Mormon history apparently that much. I only cared about learning more about the words that were available to me in, like Sunday school lessons. I wasn't really interested in following the footnotes or reading anti-Mormon lies about anything. And so your book actually was a pattern for my podcast. Since your book was about the experiences of authors in their writing Mormon history, my podcast is about the experiences of creators, which could be authors or podcasters or TikTokers or other people that we've had on recently. And so thanks a lot for that. And so your presentation was going to be on Writing Mormon History 2, which is the name of this episode, but it's changed a little bit from what you were hoping at first.
Well, actually, yeah, and I think it'll be better. Again, speaking of quality, I'm hoping that it'll be better. I'm going to, I asked the authors, first of all, it was going to be just a half-hour session. And then Grace sent me an email. She basically runs Sunstone conferences, and Grace Poole, and she's wonderful. She is on top of things. And Grace sent me an email saying, Joe, we've changed our mind. We're going to open this up for an hour. It was like a wonderful light bulb going off over my head. And I contacted the authors of the book, and I have 16 authors who are going to be in this next volume. And I asked them if any of them were interested, if they were in Utah during Sunstone, if they would be interested in participating. So I am wonderfully happy to announce that Alice Faulkner Birch, Connell O'Donovan, and Bruce Van Orden are going to be a part of the session. With that kind of a situation, I'm going to be more passive in my, I'm going to allow them, they're the interesting ones. I'm not interesting.
So they're going to
So
be, in a way, like a living history of writing Mormon history. They're
that
going
is
to
exactly right.
present the book live, their experiences, and that hopefully will get people excited. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to actually buy a book. I actually did buy, on your advice, the hardbound copy of your first edition book, and so I'll bring it and have you sign it for me, and I'll see
Please.
what other authors I can get to sign that as well. And so, I'm sure it'll be worth $1,000, someday.
That's right. Maybe even more. There are only
You never know.
230 of them, and if they shred any of them, there's even going to be a lot less. But just a quick comment, because I want people to understand how significant this session is going to be. Alice is a believing member of the church. She is also a person of color. She's Black. She has written a book and edited on Black lives within Mormonism that was published by Deseret Book. It's won all kinds of awards. Deseret Book had a flag at their flagship. They had a what do you call it when they have that thing for the book opening, or what? There's a name for it.
Yeah, like a signing or a grand opening, or
Yeah,
what is it?
grand, right. And it's like the first time Deseret Book ever did that for a book, so her book's significant. So she's going to be talking about that and what it was like to be requested, because she was actually requested to do the book. Though I think, again, as all authors and editors, the original plan was quite different than what became, and that's what her story's about, actually. So she'll be amazing to talk to, and if you have her book, make sure and bring it. Get her to sign it. Connell is a queer man who, in some ways, Connell may be, and he doesn't like me to talk about this, but he may be the foremost authority on early Black Mormon lives. Now, Matt Harris is now the guy with his book. And by the way, he'll be at Sunstone, and I'm sure you're going to talk about that. Matt Harris, meaning Matt Harris. And if anybody doesn't have his book, you're out of luck, because it's now out of print already. They've completely sold out of that first printing. But anyway, getting back to our session. So Connell broke ground when it came to Black early members of the Mormon Church under Joseph Smith and Utah under Brigham Young. But his expertise and what he's working on, and what his chapter basically focuses on, is being queer and doing research within Mormon studies, both in queer history, which he again is the guy. There's nobody better than him. And I remember Mike Marquardt telling me one time that there's this guy that can read any 19th century document. He's like amazing. And it's Connell, and Connell really is. He has broken ground on queer history.
And the value to being able to read that is because they would write their letters, some of the individual letters, a little bit differently, and they would have certain types of script that, unless you were aware of how they were writing the cursive letters, what the words actually were. And so I know that would be a valuable skill to have.
Well, anybody who wants to try and read 19th century, just go on the church's website and look at one of the documents that they've digitized. It's not easy. Yeah, let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And then Bruce Van Orden he has been a church employee pretty much his entire professional life, if not his entire professional life. He taught in CES and then at BYU. Bruce has had major controversies over his writings as a professor at BYU. I'm going to let him tell that story, but there's a nice teaser for people. The full story is in Writing Mormon History too. And Bruce is still a believing member of the church. And all three of these people that'll be there, I would say, are friends of mine. And I cherish their friendship immensely. Doing a
Did you
book
know,
like
is Bruce presenting anything else as well? Or the other guests that you have?
Connell's doing a paper on drag history in Utah, which should be fun. I'm planning on attending that. Maybe I could even find a good dress to wear, right? And a hat, an Easter bonnet. Alice is, I'm guessing she'll probably be talking a little bit about her book, but I think it's more of just Black lives in the church, which is what her book is. I mean, that's what her book is, but I believe that's also the panel that she's on.
Right.
And
Probably with
so
Matt Harris.
I don't know. I don't
Right.
know.
I haven't
Actually, Matt's
memorized.
not presenting. Matt's not
Okay.
presenting at Sunstone. He's signing. He's
Right.
signing. Doing some signings. Matt is, as I like to tell people right now, Matt is the premier Mormon historian, meaning that his work on Mormonism is the best. And
He's like
Matt,
what 20 years ago would be a good combo 1-2 punch of Mike Quinn and Richard Bushman. He's like all those guys combined, but in present day instead of back then.
yeah, exactly. And he is an archives guy. I don't want to offend some of my other friends, but Matt's different. He spends time in the archives. He digs, he reads, he studies diaries, journals, letters,
And,
documents.
and for this book that he just put out, he was able to befriend families and have them share
Their
extra
private
documents that are
papers. That's right.
not part of the public domain.
That's right. They're private papers. If you ever, again, this is a sales job for Sunstone right now. If people out there who listen to this don't come to just meet Matt and have him sign
Sign the
your
book.
book, and he'll talk your leg off because he loves to talk about history, you're missing out. This is a big deal to experience Matt if you are in Salt Lake. He will be at John Whitmer, I believe. Again, I'm not sure, and that's going to be in St. George in September. and I think he's presenting there, though. I do think he is presenting there. And that's a big deal because will be the first time that John Whitmer Historical Association will be west of the Rockies, actually west of maybe Council Bluffs.
Okay.
But yeah, you need to get to Sunstone. You need to get to Sunstone to hear people like Alice Faulkner Burge, Connell O'Donovan, Bruce Van Orden, and Matt
And then,
Harris.
you know who's given the Smith Pettit lecture?
The author of Moon
Blood
and Blood,
Moon,
or Blood Moon.
Blood.
Yeah, something
Which,
like that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know her.
Leah Sodali or something like that.
Is that okay? Well, that in and of itself, right? My wife can't, she's excited dancing around because she gets to meet her, so,
Right.
yeah, Lindsay and Grace and Stephen Carter are amazing what they're doing at Sunstone.
That's right. So we'll end right now. We're going to do another show with Joe later this week about another session that he's in, and we'll talk about that. But for now, we'll just tell everybody, thanks for watching. If you're able to attend Sunstone, please attend Sunstone. And everybody have a great rest of the week. And if you're at Sunstone and you want to see Joe or I and get Joe's autograph on his older book, I think I have a copy of it right here. If you want to see if you can get one of these.
Oh, very nice. Thank you, Gene.
So anyhow, thanks again, Joe, for coming. We
Thank
shall
you,
meet again and we'll talk more. And thanks also, Joe, because I know that you're coming off of a little bout with COVID, and we'll see how much better you sound in a few days, if you're recovering better. But it sounded really well. And despite some of our electronic snafus, hopefully this episode will be really good and impactful. And my wife is going to make the thumbnail, and she's been doing a great job doing that. And so thanks for coming on. And
thank you, Gene. Thank you and thank all of you who will listen.
That's right. Okay. Have a nice week. Bye-bye.